My mom left out a plate for my daughter. At Christmas, claimed there wasn't enough food because she made the favorite grandchild upset. Meanwhile, my mom left out a plate for my daughter at Christmas, then calmly told everyone there wasn't enough food. The words hung in the air like something rotten. I stood at the doorway of the dining room, holding my coat, watching the table glow under warm yellow lights. Plates stacked high with turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce. More food than 10 people could finish. My daughter, Emma, stood beside me clutching the small gift bag she'd brought for her grandmother, her eyes fixed on the empty space where a plate should have been. My mother didn't even look embarrassed. She just shrugged and said loudly, "Well, maybe if someone hadn't made the favorite grandchild cry earlier." The room went quiet. My sister's son sniffled dramatically. From across the table, while everyone avoided eye contact, Emma didn't argue. She just whispered, "It's okay, Mom. I'm not that hungry." But I saw the way her fingers tightened around the gift bag. That was the moment I understood something clearly. My mother thought this was the end of the story. It wasn't. It was the beginning of mine. I'm the quiet one in my family, the one who listens more than he talks. For most of my life, that meant people assumed I didn't notice things. Growing up, my sister was always the center of everything. Her birthdays were events. Her opinions were law. My mother built her whole world around her. And when my sister had a son, that world simply expanded to fit him too. The favorite grandchild. Emma and I never really fit into that picture. I'm a single parent now. Emma's dad walked away when she was 3, and from that moment, it was just the two of us learning how to move through life together. Quiet mornings, late-night homework, cheap takeout dinners that somehow felt like celebrations. My family called me difficult because I didn't visit often, but the truth was simpler. Every visit came with little cuts. Emma's cousin got bigger gifts, louder praise, a seat right next to Grandma. Emma got polite smiles and the kind of attention people give a neighbor's kid they barely know. I noticed every single moment. I just never said anything. Because I've learned something important about people who think you're invisible. They relax, they get comfortable, and when that happens, they stop paying attention to what you're quietly becoming. Dinner continued, as if nothing unusual had happened. Chairs scraped softly against the floor. Silverware clinked against plates. My mother passed the gravy boat to my sister with a warm smile, the kind she used to reserve for special occasions. Emma sat beside me with a glass of water and a polite little smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. No one offered her anything, not even bread. My nephew, the favorite, had a second helping, piled high before most people had finished their first. My mother watched him eat like it was a performance, nodding proudly every time he reached for more potatoes. "Growing boy," she said warmly. Across the table, my sister leaned back in her chair and gave me a small shrug, the kind that said, "You know how Mom is." Yes, I did. This wasn't new. It was just clearer now. Last Christmas, Emma's gift had been a clearance store puzzle while her cousin unwrapped a brand new gaming console. On birthdays, my mother would send a card 2 weeks late with $5 inside, as if remembering was optional. But tonight felt different, because Emma had noticed too. She sat very straight in her chair, trying to look grown up about it. That quiet effort hurt more than any insult my mother could have spoken aloud. And as I watched the table fill with laughter that didn't include us, a thought settled calmly in my mind. Some lessons take years to prepare. Emma stayed quiet the entire drive home. Street lights slid across the windshield in soft yellow streaks, and the Christmas music on the radio felt strangely distant, like it belonged to someone else's night. She stared out the window, holding the small gift bag she'd never gotten the chance to give. About halfway home, she finally spoke. "Did I really make him upset?" Her voice wasn't angry, just careful. I kept my eyes on the road. "No," I said gently. "You didn't." She nodded like she already knew that. After a moment, she added, "Grandma likes him more, though." There it was. No drama, no tears. Just a quiet observation from a kid who had started connecting the dots. That was the moment something shifted for me. Not rage, not some loud, dramatic promise of revenge. Just clarity. For years I told myself it wasn't worth the conflict, that Emma was too young to notice, that keeping the peace mattered more than confronting the truth. But tonight proved something different. Silence doesn't protect kids. It teaches them their place. When we pulled into our driveway, Emma handed me the gift bag. "Maybe we should just keep it," she said softly. I looked down at the neatly wrapped present meant for my mother, and I realized something important. I didn't need to argue. I just needed to stop playing the role they had written for me. The plan didn't start with anger. It started with distance. After Christmas, I stopped accepting invitations. When my mother texted about Sunday dinners, I replied politely that Emma and I were busy. When my sister sent photos of family night, I reacted with a simple thumbs up and nothing more. No arguments, no explanations, just absence. At first, no one seemed to notice. My family had always treated my presence like background noise, something that was simply there. But silence has a way of revealing things. What they didn't seem to remember was that I'd spent the last 8 years building something of my own, while they were busy comparing report cards and soccer trophies between grandchildren. I had been working quietly, late nights, weekend meetings, small risks that slowly grew into something stable. I run a small event planning and catering company now. Nothing flashy, but reliable, and very busy during the holidays, which meant something else too. Most of my extended family's reunions, anniversaries, and parties over the past few years had started flowing through me. Not out of kindness, simply convenience. I organized things well, and everyone liked not having to deal with the details. They trusted me with the planning, the venue lists, the guest lists, the budgets, and sitting in my kitchen one quiet January evening, reviewing the upcoming schedule for the year, I realized something interesting. For once, I controlled the table. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. In early spring, my sister called about our mother's 70th birthday. She sounded stressed, overwhelmed by the idea of organizing something special. "Can you handle it?" she asked. "You're good at this stuff." I kept my voice neutral. "Of course." So I did exactly what they trusted me to do. I booked a beautiful private dining room at one of the best restaurants in the city. Warm lighting, long oak table, elegant place settings, the kind of place where every seat feels intentional. Then I handled the details, guest confirmations, seating arrangement, custom menu cards printed with my mother's name at the top. Everything looked perfect. The night of the dinner, everyone arrived dressed up and smiling, congratulating my sister for pulling off such a classy event. My mother beamed as she walked into the room, admiring the table laid out for the family. 12 chairs, 11 place settings, one empty space at the end of the table. My sister frowned slightly. "Hey, I think they forgot a setting." I glanced at the menu cards, pretending to notice for the first time. Then I spoke calmly. "Oh," I said. "No, that one wasn't forgotten." The table went quiet. I met my mother's eyes across the room. "Sometimes," I added gently, "there just isn't enough food." For a moment, no one moved. My sister's smile froze halfway across her face, like she wasn't sure whether to laugh or correct me. My nephew stopped scrolling on his phone and looked up, confused by the sudden stillness at the table. My mother was the only one who understood immediately. I could see it in the way her shoulders stiffened. The empty place at the table sat directly across from her, the chair pushed neatly in, the menu card resting in front of it like every other seat. Except this one had no plate, no silverware, just space. The restaurant's staff hovered politely at the door, waiting for a signal to begin serving. My sister leaned closer to me and whispered, "What is this supposed to mean?" I kept my voice calm. "It means the seating was planned carefully." Across the table, my mother looked down at her hands. The confidence she usually carried around family gatherings had quietly disappeared. No one raised their voice. No dramatic confrontation followed, but everyone understood the message. For years, Emma had been the invisible one at the table. Tonight, the room had to sit with that reality for a few uncomfortable minutes. And something interesting happened in that silence. For the first time, they were all paying attention. The dinner eventually continued. Someone asked the waiter to bring another setting. Chairs shifted. Conversations slowly restarted, softer this time, as if everyone had suddenly become aware of the weight of the room. My mother barely spoke for the rest of the night. When dessert arrived, she finally looked at me across the table. There was no anger in her face, just something quieter. Recognition, maybe, the kind that comes when someone realizes a story they've been telling about themselves doesn't hold up anymore. We didn't argue. There was nothing left to argue about. Emma and I left early. Outside, the night air was cool, and the restaurant lights glowed behind us as we walked toward the car. Emma slipped her hand into mine. "That was kind of weird," she said thoughtfully. I smiled a little. Sometimes people need help noticing things. She nodded like that made sense. The truth is, revenge wasn't really the point. The point was the line that had finally been drawn. Maybe my family will change, maybe they won't. But Emma will never again sit at a table where she's treated like an afterthought. And if anyone ever forgets that lesson, I now know exactly how to remind them.